Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Caregiver Coffee Shop podcast. Today, I am beyond excited for my guest that I have on the podcast today. Her name is Kerry Evelyn. She is a wife, mother, has experienced her own bout of chronic illness, and she is a fiction writer, which is amazing. And I really love how I got to meet Kerry. It was an interesting journey. A fellow mutual friend of ours, Becky Swarby, she is another upcoming author, and Becky was actually in the same mastermind as I was that I'm currently still in, being trained in, and we've created a good friendship. And then when we both realized that we both are aligned with being Christians and into content for Christian growth and development, Becky recommended Carrie to me because she had a prompt journal, Christian journal book out. And she's like, hey, I'm going to start it. I got my copy. Would you like to do this with me? And I was like, absolutely. So I did the journal. Took like a whole year. And then I reached out to Kerry afterwards and said, hey, this is so amazing. And so we developed a friendship as well. And I wanted to have her on the podcast because, to kind of show some love back. So Kerry, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Oh, that journal was the project of my heart and soul, and I'm so glad that you loved it and carried through the whole year. That's just amazing. Awesome.
It was really good, and I think it was really interesting too, because that was just really an awakening moment for me. Because as a 37-year-old, I've struggled all my life with finding that right um uh that right method, if you will, for how I spend time with the Lord. Being a former pastor's daughter, there's so many ways, read the Bible and all this. But one thing that doing your journal really did help with, Carrie, was that prompt journaling just really works for me. And I definitely, and then also now after working with my two Christian life coaches now too, and doing their devotional year-long program, figuring out that doing a small short video and then doing like some prompt reflection questions afterwards, it just makes more sense because then I kind of am digesting the content in multiple ways, and it's repetitive. So I'm reading it, I'm writing it, I'm hearing it. I can't just necessarily just do it one way. I can't just read something and be like, yeah, I got it. No.
No.
So
you got to build the habit. You got to build the skills. You've got to make it part of your routine. And if you can stack it with something else, even better.
Yeah, and I do some other journaling too, so it just works really well with my routine now. So now I come in here to my office with my cup of tea, my water, and I do my prompt journaling and my devotional lesson for the day, and then I get into work, and it just works again, like you said, habit stacking. And I think for those of you who aren't aware of what the word habit stacking is and what we're talking about, habit stacking is where you're adding something into your routine, your schedule, that you're ties in really well with something you're already doing. So it's easier to build that new habit or skill into your routine, because let's face it, we're so bad when we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this every day. It's a lot easier if you tie it into a habit that you already do. And since it's quiet in my office and I get up at the wee hours of the morning, I'm in here at about 6:30 in the morning, doing that early in the morning when I'm already doing stuff for my work and everything. It just works. So think about that for you, like as we're sharing, because I know the title for this episode, or the theme for this episode, is where we're talking about our expectations versus reality as an ambitious Christian mom, but really about life, guys. I mean, as moms, as caregivers, as people who deal with chronic illness on a daily, we know in our brain like what we want in terms of what we expect or would like to happen. But the reality of dealing with an unexpected chronic illness, with dealing with raising our children, with managing our marriages, with just other crap hitting the fan that we just have no anticipation of when it's going to happen. The reality, it does happen. So the reality versus expectation, that can be really tricky. And then, so what Carrie and I really wanted to talk about is, as we're choosing to be ambitious Christian moms, how do we navigate that? How do we balance that out? Because it is really tough to, obviously, for one, just be able to cope with being a mom, a caregiver, and dealing with chronic illness just in general. And then when we're also trying to implement being set apart and live a life that is a living sacrifice and blessing and version of what Christ was. not perfect, but emulating it. That could
Mhm.
be tricky too. That's more pressure.
Perfect is too much pressure. And anyone who
No.
appears to be perfect, they are suspect.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, Kerry, let's give our listeners a little bit more background on who you are. So, I would love for you to share a little bit about. We'll kind of dive into this. We'll kind of dive into the expectation versus reality of what you were struggling with a little bit later. But
Mhm.
just in general, like your journey about your own spiritual journey, and also just this journey of dealing with chronic illness and how that tied into your business. I mean, you're an author. I mean, not everyone becomes a fiction writer, let alone
You got to
um
want it more than you don't want it. Does
I
that make sense?
know.
Like you just got to stay, you got to stay the course, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. Writing a book, the first one, I didn't even finish. The second one became my first published novel. And I, I published it myself because I didn't want to go the traditional route. I didn't want to waste all that time applying to editors and agents and writing to like specific specifications and waiting 2 to 3 years if it got accepted, because they're buying stuff that's going to be popular 2 years from now, what they predict. So what they're buying may not be what you're writing. And I knew my stories needed to get out there. I knew that there were people that needed to read them because all of them were downloaded from God. He gave me the ideas. He gave me everything, the character names, the setting, the premise, all that stuff. I would just get scenes and dialogue in my head. And I was like, all right, I got to write this down. But I was trying to write the other book, which was not what I was meant to write. It was historical World War II fiction, which I love to read, but it was not what I was meant to write, at least not yet. I had a lot of growing to do still as a writer before I can attempt something like an epic saga. But I had the means. I put together a team. There's a huge author community in Central Florida, and you just got to show up. I showed up to writers' meetings at the library. I showed up to writers' conferences. I showed up to online classes. I kept showing up. And every time you show up, you meet somebody and you network and you do all these things. And next thing I knew, I had a ton of author friends who wanted to see me succeed and would check in on me. How's the book coming? How is this doing? What can I do to help you? They don't have the time to necessarily read what I'm writing, but they can send me resources and links and refer me to editors and everyone who, Facebook groups. So showing up is, people say showing up is like, I forget what the percentage is, but for me, it was like 90% at that point, 90% showing up and absorbing and 10% writing. And, I went to this conference in October of 2015. And, I grew up Catholic, and there was a lot of stuff in the early 2000s, late 1990s that just had me questioning my faith. And it really bothered me that priests who did unspeakable things could get forgiveness from God and still take communion, but my parents who had divorced could not. That rule didn't make sense to me. So I dove in to all of the Catholic resources. I dove in. I had a stack of books this high. Catholicism for Dummies, all the research books. I had the Dead Sea Scrolls, which aren't even approved canon. I was just reading everything. And then when my daughter was born, my neighbor down the street was like, she saw how frazzled I was. She's like, and I was pregnant with my son by this point. And she's like, you just got to bring her to Life Song. Bring her to Life Song one day a week for the MOPS program. And I'm like, mothers of preschoolers. I was like, I don't know. I love having her home. She's like, yes, but you need time to recharge. And my husband at the time had just started traveling for his job, and he was gone up to 2 weeks at a time. And it was just, and then at 29 weeks, I was put on pelvic rest. So I couldn't lift anything, carry anything. We had to teach my daughter to climb into the car and climb into her car seat because I was bleeding and cramping, and I was like, I am not going to lose this baby. Right. So for 10 weeks, it was just insane. And so that summer, I enrolled my daughter into that program. She went one day a week for like 6 weeks or something, and she loved it. I loved it. And then I was invited to join the MOPS group, and I just clicked with those moms. And so I started going to church with them. I started going to Bible study with them. We had mom's night out. I'm still close. We're going to Easter at one of the mom's houses, and 2 of the other moms that were in the group go there. So like we became like an extended family, and this was back in 2009. So these are really long friendships. I only see them a couple times a year, but I know that in an emergency, I can call them. And so, as I got into that, I registered my daughter for for kindergarten for a homeschool hybrid program. I knew I didn't want to go public school. Our public school is right around the corner from our house, and I taught with a lot of the teachers there, and I loved them. But all of the changes that had come about in the 5 years that I was gone, it didn't sound right. And I just had a feeling, God had kept pushing me to like do it myself. And I was like, is that ego or is that me just being overprotective? And, so I signed her up. I said, it's kindergarten. She's already ahead for her grade level. If you can't mess up kindergarten, right? If she's not good by the end of kindergarten, then I'll put her in the neighborhood school for first grade. And we both loved it. And through that, I met my friend Rebecca, who introduced me to Hannah Keeley, who is America's #1 Christian mom coach. And she has a program called Mom Mastery University. And I ate that up. What Hannah does, or she does a lot now, but back then, she had a whole program of classes you could take with different tracks. And basically, she read all the books that busy moms didn't have time to read. And then she interviewed the author and highlighted all the stuff. And you got a worksheet you could follow along with, a fill in the blank. And then you had homework that you could do or you couldn't. But when you finished the module, you got to check. And I went through that like crazy. And I became a mentor to other moms. And in 2015, her conference was in Orlando. And Rebecca was like, come with me, come with me. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, just come. She's like, if anything, it's a weekend away from home, from kids, from laundry, from dishes. And like, sign me up. So I went, and it was absolutely amazing. And Hannah asked this one question that really stuck with me. She said, what is one thing that you did when you were younger, a child, high school, like when you were younger, that no matter how long you did it, you lost track of time, you loved it, you always wanted more time for it. And for me, it was reading books and writing. And so from there, we made a plan for the last 75 days of the year. How are we going to work toward what we love to do? And how are we going to turn that into something that was not just our passion, but also a business possibly? And so I started telling my friends about it. And my friend Julie was like, oh, hey, there's writer meetings in Orlando and I'm going to this book signing and come with me. And then doors just started opening. So this was October. November was National Novel Writing Month. Challenge is to write 50,000 words in 30 days. And I got pretty close. And then I went to the Orange County Library Conference that January 2018. By 2019, I was teaching classes. No, that was 2016. By 2018 or 19, I forget which year, I was teaching classes in it. So, and if you look at the Orange County Library Association, Orange County Library Services, ocls.gov or net or something, and you look at the Writers Conference, the first picture you're going to see for a speaker is me, because I have been there the longest consecutively. So I'm always giving back to other writers. I know where I started. I'm always trying to help. Becky, our mutual friend, she's publishing her first book in May. And I am just so excited about that. And I've helped her a little bit along the way, but she's actually helping me now because she discovered this program, which I knew about, but I didn't actually know how to use it or wonder if it was worth the time, called Publisher Rocket. And what it does is it helps you find the right categories and keywords for your book on Amazon. So she's been doing all of that research on my past books, and they're doing a lot better than they were when I was just, oh, maybe this category, or oh, maybe this keyword. Game changer, right? So it's amazing, just networking, meeting other people you click with. Now, you don't have to help everybody, but the ones who God wants to align you with will keep finding you, and you'll keep finding them. And it's just amazing. She joined our writer group. I was vice president last year. I was like, you got to join STAR. And she's like, okay, guess who's vice president this year? Becky. So it's just incredible how, you keep, everything is interconnected when you are on the right path, when you are aligned to it. And if there's going to be struggles, reality versus, the perfect picture is very, very different. But you have to be open to the very, very different, because it is always better in the long run.
Absolutely. You just said a nutshell there. What a
Yeah.
marathon you've been on. I love it. And I'm so excited. And like she said, our mutual friend Becky, she has a new book dropping this year, and I'm so excited. And but what I'm hearing, guys, did you hear what she talked about there, guys, about how she was sharing about her journey and how she was giving back? And then now, and she was helping Becky, but then now it's going twofold. Becky's really just blowing up in her journey.
Yep.
And now it's coming full circle for her. She's feeding back in, pouring back into
Mhm.
Kerry. So,
Yep. And
guys, whatever season you're at in your journey, I want you to remember too that you can still be a light to somebody else. Okay.
mhm.
And that's why when I teach the prompt method, that's why the first R is so important. R, reaching out for support, building your support
Yes.
network as moms, as caregivers, as people who are dealing with chronic illness. We
You
need to
need
be
people.
around like-minded people that get what we're going through because we cannot do it alone. And whether you choose to be a mompreneur like what Carrie and I have chosen to do,
Mhm.
you need people around you. You cannot face
You
this life
do.
by yourself. I mean, as a spiritual ambitious as spiritual ambitious women, yes, we do rely on our faith. You know, we choose to have that be a part of and a big focus for
I wouldn't have
that
any
drives
peace or
everything.
hope without it.
Exactly. But at the same time, we still need community. Everyone needs community. Everyone listening to this podcast episode needs community. Okay. Now, whether you choose to invest and follow, any of my work further on a more one-on-one group basis or pursue reading Carrie's content, either way, we just want you to be curious and open. Listen to what Carrie said, open about finding resources that work for you in the season of life that you're in because you need the support. You can't do it alone, and you can get creative. I don't do a moms group per se at my church. I do the Moms Connect is what it's called, and it's a
Mhm.
moms group for they meet twice a week. They have one meeting on Thursday mornings, for moms that works. That does not work good for me with my schedule.
Mhm.
But Wednesday night, when we do our Wednesday night church-wide dinners and where we also serve people in our community a meal and have intentional conversation, then we also have breakout for Wednesday night classes for all age levels. That's when
Mhm.
I go to the moms group. So my daughter goes to the preschool
Yep.
program, and then I go to my Moms Connect group. So
Yep.
what even if it's and that's only one time a week, but then there's other
That's
ways.
sometimes that's all you
Yeah,
need. You need
yeah,
community. We're designed for community. God designed us specifically to have people that we can fall on and rely on and help others. And you've seen it with the meal trains, right? Like being the recipient of a meal train. I'm from New England, so we don't need help from anybody ever. So that's how it is. So the first time, like I needed a meal train. My friend Carol was like, "Oh, let me set one up for you." And then my friend Marcy set one up for me for different things when I had surgeries, when I was sick, when I had the baby, whatever. And it was so hard for me to take that. And my husband still has struggles with it. But when there is one less thing for you to do, it's just it takes such a load off, and then you can give back. And it's amazing when I mean it every little bit helps, and it helps a
absolutely.
lot. And even if someone just sends you like a gift card for the grocery store, you can have groceries delivered. And that's one less thing you have to get your kids up, dressed, and out of the house for when you're not feeling good.
Absolutely. So think about that. Building your support network sometimes isn't necessarily a really close friend or acquaintance. Sometimes it's just leveraging
Mhm.
another resource. So realistically,
That's true.
what is something you can outsource? Okay. Is it groceries? I did this
Mhm.
over the weekend. It was just, I was
Yeah.
tired after being sick and everything, and I just did not want to deal with it. So I ordered groceries too. So I didn't have to worry about driving and everything else either. So
Mhm.
is it getting groceries online, ordering online, and then choosing either to just pick them up? That's a lot faster than having to
Mhm.
spend an hour actually shopping in the grocery store or having
Mhm.
them delivered to your home. Is
Yep.
it hiring someone for yard work or house cleaning? Is it leveraging somebody in terms of home health, hospice to help you with the caregiving side? And again, those resources aren't like 24/7 either, like, where it's every day per se. But again, even like Carrie was saying with that one night a week, or like what I shared with my Moms Connect group, one day a week, and just to give yourself to get one task off your to-do list, That can be
Yes.
a game
And
changer.
utilize the people in your house and your neighbors if you're close to them. When my kids were little, when I was doing my classes with Hannah Keeley, the workshops that were online, my neighbor, she was, probably 12 or 13. She came over and she would sit and play with my kids for a couple hours. And I'd give her like $5 or $10, depending how long she stayed. And for me, that uninterrupted time, having the mom's helper in the house was amazing. When my kids hit fourth grade, they got a laptop for their school stuff, just a little thing that they could type on. And, it wasn't anything fancy. But I was like, if you can work a laptop, you can work the laundry machines. And so the washer dryer, they started doing their own laundry. Was it perfect? No, I had to take it out, and I had to take it out of the washer to put it in the dryer because they were little. They couldn't get in there. It was a top loader. But they learned how to do it. The system is in place so that if I was sick, they could still do their own laundry. To this day, they do their own laundry. We instituted yo-yo meals. This is a Hannah Keeley thing. You're on your own yo-yo for breakfast and lunch. And my daughter, she loved to make quesadillas when she was about 6. You just take, a tortilla, sprinkle cheese in it, and you can grab some grilled chicken from the bag, at the grocery store. They've got the bag of the grilled chicken, put a couple pieces in, fold the tortilla in half, microwave for 30 seconds, let it sit for a couple minutes till it's not, super hot, and done. They could get cereal on their own. They didn't have milk in it because at the time they didn't like to combine the milk with the cereal. So I put everything that they could have on a lower shelf, the fruit snacks, all that stuff, so they could get their snack. And then they would have their own breakfast. They would do, little mini pancakes in the microwave. Or at 5, 6 years old, they were doing this. They packed their own lunch. I had everything ready to go. They'd put it together, so they can do that. And now my husband, he does our laundry. That's kind of by default because I will let it go until I have no underwear left. And I have a lot of underwear. He doesn't have as much as me. So if I haven't done the laundry, he will do it. And then I'll put it away. But and sometimes it sits on my bed or the floor for 2 days and I just kind of like move around it because, or the futon or wherever the laundry basket is. Sometimes I don't put it away right away. And that's okay. There are other things, there are other urgent things that pull at you. And it's okay not to be perfect. You've got to let go of perfect because only Jesus is perfect. And I don't want to be Jesus. I don't want that pressure. And I want to have someone to look up to and lean on, and that Proverbs 31 woman, I don't know about her. But she's got it all together. But really, when she talks about having servants, we have servants, our dishwasher, our laundry machines, our anything, Alexa or Google, like they work for us, right? So they help our life be easier. And programs like TurboTax, you don't have to hire out if you've got the math skills, you don't have to hire out your taxes. You can do TurboTax. There's so many things you can do to save money, save time, and streamline your system. It's all about the systems. When you have a system in place, it will work when you cannot.
And that's why I say about breaking it down. So take looking at your task list, your weekly, your daily, your monthly, breaking it down and just looking at, okay, what needs to be a non-negotiable daily task? What could be what could be pushed off to being a weekly task? And then everything that's left, what needs to be ditched and is not important altogether? And then what can be outsourced to somebody?
Yes, I do something similar. I use the Fly Lady method. Fly Lady she's hilarious. She's awesome. We met her at the homeschool conference. She has a whole website. She's got products. It's all about getting rid of clutter, house clutter, body clutter, mind clutter, all that stuff. And she has 3 things. You either give it away, put it away, or give it away, put it away, or throw it away. And so I do that with tasks as well. I look at my list. What can I give away? What can I delegate? What can I throw away? What's not important? I can just let it go because it's really something that I would like to do, but maybe I don't have to. Or I can move it to another list for another week. Or put it away, which means actually do it. This is what I have to do. These are the 3 things I must do today. Everything else is bonus. And by doing that, I'm able to narrow down what I really have to do. And it takes the pressure and the guilt off of me.
Right. And that can be a big shift. Okay. I'm a former workforce mom and I was used to in the beginning of my stay-at-home mom, spousal caregiver journey, an entrepreneur journey of working 4 to 5 days in a row and then having 2 to 3 days off. So then I could have like one day be my work day where I just, did bills, house cleaning, laundry, did errands. And then the second day, and then the other day off or 2 it was days to rest, plan
Mhm.
out time with family and friends, to
Mhm.
be able to just have some fun. So but when you're a caregiver and a stay-at-home mom, you can't really always bet that you're going to get that day to do that, especially when you're dealing
No.
with chronic illness, whether you're yourself the one that's dealing with
Mhm.
chronic illness like IBS, like what Kerry and I both have,
Yeah.
or you're caring for someone that has epilepsy, like my husband, or some other, or caring for an aging grandparent or parent like I also am.
Mhm.
So what I want you here to do, what I want you to think about here, thinking about those expectations versus reality, how can you break it down to where it's easy peasy lemon squeezy and it's flexible? Okay.
Yes.
If something happens to where you have, like, for example, if my husband has a seizure, he's done for the rest of the day. If he's scheduled to work, he doesn't work, and I'm in mom mode for the rest of the day.
Mhm.
So like I've had mornings where I've been working, my daughter gets me because she's had an episode, and I've had to cancel meetings, I've had to just stop. I close my
Mhm.
laptop. I'm in mom mode and caregiver mode for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And so anything that I had planned for that day, it gets moved.
Mhm.
So does it
Yep.
mean I'm a bad wife or mother or caregiver? Of
No.
course not.
You're
It
even
just means
better for
right,
prioritizing family over
exactly.
business. Yep.
So how can you, so I want you thinking about a system that gives you some structure, okay, but is also still flexible for the dealing with that balance of expectation. We have our plan, but the reality of what's going to happen on any given day.
Yeah.
So taking a task, like for example, going back to my example, on my work days when I worked in the healthcare industry and I had those 1 to 3 days off every week. When I would do laundry, I would save all the laundry for that one day. I can't guarantee that if I have a set laundry day, that's not the day that all hell's going to break loose and then my husband's going to have a bad day. So our rule now is I watch our hamper. When it gets to be 3/4 to all the way full, I do a load. Does that mean I'm probably doing 3 or 4 loads throughout the week? Yes, but it's less stressful and more
Mhm.
manageable by chipping away at it throughout the
Yeah.
week versus putting that pressure cooker on of like Carrie said, waiting until I have nothing left to wear and then I'm
Yes.
stressed because I have to catch up.
Right,
And if
and
it's
that
a
wasn't
bad
always
day,
my
and
way,
it yeah,
but it
and it
it has to be now. When my kids were little and they took naps, I had a different day of the week for a different kind of laundry. I'd have my daughter's, my son's, the towels and sheets, mine, my husband's. I kept everything separate. And I was able to do it because, when you put it in first thing in the morning, then you get the crock pot going before the kids even get up. Like the laundry is done,
mhm,
pretty early, and you've got all day to fold it. You can go by the dryer, fold 2 or 3 things and go away, or put on a favorite song and before the song's finished, you're done folding.
mhm,
But
mhm.
it's just not how life is right now. So I train my
No,
kids to do
no,
their own laundry, and my husband helps out, and every season is different. And
of
that's
course.
really hard to understand if you're in a tough season, or if you're in a season that's been the same for so long, but think about making one change, just one thing at a time. What can you
Mhm,
do today that's different from yesterday that might be more helpful? Or who can you call, or what resource can you look up that will just give you some encouragement and point you in the right direction or any direction, any different direction. Do something. I challenge you to do one thing different and find that one thing and see how it works. And then once that is implemented, one thing at a time, right? We all start at zero. We all eat the elephant one bite at a time. So don't try to throw a whole bunch of things in at once. But if something that you hear today from me or Melissa resonates with you, write it down, make a list, and then put it aside. Pick one thing, put the rest aside. And then by the time you're ready to pick another thing, you may have already done 4 or 5 on that list or something similar that works for you. You'll be
mhm.
surprised.
Right. And as you're doing stuff too, I want you to be both curious and I also want you to pay attention. Okay.
And be obedient. What's God
Yes.
telling you to do?
Right. So be curious about, okay, Lord, help me here. I'm trying to figure this out. I want to do something that makes sense, that's in alignment with you as I live my
Mhm.
life. Okay. But also, too, I need to do something. I have a unique brain and a unique personality and pet peeves. So help me
Mhm.
figure out a way that works with that. Okay.
Yeah.
And help me be curious to try things and also give myself grace if I
Mhm.
try something and it doesn't work. Guys, I
Mhm.
want you ditching the 50,000 ways that don't work for you. I
Yeah.
do.
Trial and
And
error. That's
that's
how
trial and
Apple
error.
became Apple, right? Trial and error.
Exactly. That's the only way to do it. So try something. So as we're
Yep.
starting, for us in the entrepreneur world, we're starting Q2. Okay. It's a new quarter. So for the next 90 days, I want you being curious for this quarter.
Mhm.
How can you try things? What's something you want to try? Because that's the other thing. With the trial, that means you have to put in some time. just trying it once doesn't give you a good amount
Mm-mm.
of feedback or information about if
Yeah.
that works for you. Okay. So when you're creating systems, I want you being curious and trying things and giving yourself a time. So if, or even if you don't want to do it for a full 90 days, at least do it for a month. Give yourself a month to really try it out and see
Mhm.
how you feel, if you like it, what works, what doesn't, and then reevaluate or tweak it and see what works. And here's the thing, what works for me won't 100% work for you, and what works for Kerry won't 100% work for you either.
No, you
But
can't be us, and don't try to
no.
be.
So we want you, so here's the idea. We want you taking time to be intentional with creating some systems to help you in your caregiving, motherhood, and self-care journey, and or even entrepreneur journey if you're an entrepreneur like we are,
Mhm.
and just trying something and then tweaking it and being curious until you get it down to a science. And if it and release the timeline. 2 Samuel 22:31-33 talks
Oh,
about how God's
love it.
timing is always perfect. He is
Mhm.
our rock and our refuge. And that is a solid foundation that we can stand on as ambitious Christian moms. Or even if you're not ambitionally sound, I want you to believe that from the standpoint of like, you know what, I got this. Things will work out. Even if it doesn't look like things are working out, they will work out. And you have to be willing to be open and put the work in.
Yeah.
So, Carrie, for those who are listening, for our moms, caregivers, entrepreneurs out there, the whole shebang, if they're listening, maybe they've heard something that does resonate, but what are some actual actionable steps that we can give them? What are 3 tips that you want to give our listeners out there from your perspective to help them get the ball going? Because you know what, it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to create a system and I need something, but if we don't have a place to start or even just to start being curious, it can feel overwhelming in of itself. Then we don't get anything done or accomplished or
Yeah.
created. So what are 3 actionable, simple tips that you would like to give our listeners to help them get the ball going on
Sure.
creating a system?
Yeah. Yeah. First, I want to address what you were saying. Romans 8:28 is my guiding verse, and we know in all the things God works for the good of those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. We may not see results right away. We may not understand something ever. We may not see results ever, but that has been my guiding verse forever. And it gives me peace because I know that if something is happening, he knows why. I don't need to know why. And I rest in the fact now that I don't need to know why. If he wants me to know, that's his business. He can tell me. If he doesn't, then I just got to trust that he knows what he's doing and it's going to work out. Even when the most horrible thing happens, where's the light that's coming out of it? My daughter played volleyball last year, and one of the moms at the end of volleyball season shared that she was just diagnosed with breast cancer. And we were just like, why didn't you tell us during the season? We could have done something. She's like, I don't want to worry about it. And she was trying to handle it all herself. And it was, anyway, she passed away a few weeks ago, and it was really, really sad. And, how can you find the good in that? Right. But there's fundraisers coming out of it. There's memorials, there's ladies, don't get yourself checked and don't rely on yourself and call for help, and so much good coming out of it. And, God's got you. You've got to trust that he's got you, but you've got to work too. He can't help you if you're not helping yourself. And
Right.
so, and she did have a great family network and stuff. We just didn't know about it, but we were like, we could help you. And she did. And it was great. Like, I don't know her that well. And so I'm not judging her for, not telling us or anything. It's her business, and that's fine. But, I've seen so many good things come out of her being gone. And it's horrible to say, right? You're like, how can I even think this? But God is there. God is
Right.
always there. And when you look for him, when your eyes and ears are open, you can see and hear him. And, Romans 8:28. All right. So sorry, that was a long,
No,
uh,
that's good. And I think, and I do want to, look, guys, hard things happen.
yeah.
Okay. Things happen that are out of our control that we're not going to, like my husband, he had no medical history in his family tree or as a child of epilepsy. And that's usually a vast percentage
Yeah.
of how it's caught. But there is
Mhm.
a 20% of the population that for no apparent reason they will contract epilepsy or seizure disorder within their lifetime. And that's unfortunately where my husband
Yeah.
falls
Isn't
in
that
his
crazy?
50s. That's tough. Do I wish that we didn't have to that we didn't have to deal with this and that didn't impact our marriage, how we parent, because he can't be home alone with our daughter anymore for safety. And he can't be with his job. He can't be at work by himself. He has to have an employee there with him for safety. That's tough. He can't
That is
drive anymore.
very
There's so many
Yeah.
independence things that he's lost. Okay. We could choose to look at that as a horrible thing. But I'm a stay-at-home mom now. No,
Yeah.
I'm here with our daughter. We're getting so much time with her.
God is providing.
He's providing. And I'm on this podcast, hello, talking with an author. I'm interviewing an author. Hello. Hello. I'm doing things that I never would have done if I hadn't started my business and decided to quit my career. I thought I'd be in health. I was in the healthcare industry.
You've got to take the risk, right?
Right.
You've just got to.
And I'm doing this. I've met Becky. And then through her, I got to meet Kerry, and then we're continuing to network and work together. So it's like, hello, big open door that God provided. Okay, it's amazing. So so even though it may be hard right now, and you feel like you're in hellfire right now, I want you to just still remember that there's still light at the end of the tunnel. That God is still good and still works for the good of those that love and serve Him. And that his timing is always perfect. It might take months, it might take days, it might take years, but it's still possible. Okay.
Yep. And that is a great segue into my 3 tips.
Yay. Okay, let's do it.
My number 1 tip is to let go of the perfect, let go of that perfect picture and embrace the season that you're in. Do as much as you can or as little as you can, but focus on what you have to do. And then add one thing. If getting out of bed and, getting your kids to school is the only thing you have to do it. And then find time, squeeze the day, find time to do that one extra thing. Because you know what, even if you only can read 5 pages a day of a book to help you get started on whatever journey you want to be on, by the end of the month, 5 times 30, that's 150 pages. That could be a whole book. If you're only writing like maybe a paragraph a day, after 30 days, you have 30 paragraphs, you might have a chapter of a book if you want to write a book. And this applies to everything, So that's number 1. Let go of the perfect picture for the season you're in. Number 2, make appointments. I have a printable that I can send to you. It goes 5 a.m. to midnight every day of the week. And there's a spot and I block off time. Every day is different. I cannot do the same thing every day. I cannot wake up at the same time every day because my kids go to school 2 days a week. I don't know what activities they're going to be in, when they're going to be practicing, when my daughter's going to have a fencing tournament, or when she's going to have a figure skating private lesson, or any of these things, right? But I can block the constants off for every week. What is constant every week? And then I can try to sneak in writing time. And if it's only 45 minutes while my daughter is at a fencing lesson, I'm going to be in the car doing stuff in that 45 minutes. I'm not going to go in and socialize with the moms unless I want to, and they're my besties, but I don't have to. I can make better use of that time being in the car on my laptop, making graphics. If I'm in a long checkout line at Target, I can make a graphic in Canva for Facebook or for Instagram or for Facebook ads. There are so many little things, and I always have stuff with me. I always have a book with me. It's either on my Kindle or in person or like a regular, real 3D book, right? What are those? I always have like a bunch of 5-minute tasks that I can do. And I usually have a longer task that, like, if I get stuck somewhere, I'm in the doctor's office and they're running 30 minutes behind, I'm not going to cancel that appointment and reschedule, because I've already figured out, future Kerry will be so mad at me if present Kerry cancels this appointment. So present Kerry sits there and does the longer task at the doctor's office while she's waiting. There's always something to do, and I always have stuff with me. So make appointments with yourself for the time that you need to get stuff done. I know every Monday morning at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be doing writing sprints with my group. I know, except if we go over today, but that's fine. They go from 11 to 12:30. I know every Wednesday night I'm doing writing sprints with my writing group. I know every Saturday morning from 9 to 11, sometimes 12, I'm with my critique partners in a Zoom. Those are non-negotiable. I put them on the calendar. My pockets of writing time vary throughout the week, depending on what my kids and my husband and I'm doing as far as appointments go. But I know that I have at least anywhere from 7 to 10 hours booked every week that I'm devoting to writing, where I'm either writing or doing business stuff or getting input from somebody. And those are non-negotiable unless like a vacation pops up. Things happen, it can't be perfect. And so my kids know not to bother me during that time. Do they still bother me? Yes. they still come in, but we have what's called the interrupt rule. They put their hand on my shoulder and they keep it there. And if I'm doing something, I know it's there, but I'm not gonna stop mid-sentence. I'm not gonna stop immediately and be like, oh, hey, what do you want? Sorry, everybody else. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to myself if I'm writing. So I will get to a stopping point. As long as their hand is on my shoulder, they know that when I get to a stopping point, I will address them. And this works when I'm on the phone as well, or watching TV, or I have trained them since they were little to do the interrupt rule. And they remember it 4 out of 5 times. Sometimes I have to be like, interrupt rule, or I pat my shoulder and they're like, oh, right. So it's, you gotta train them. You gotta get a system in place. So that's number 2, make appointments with yourself. And number 3, find a person, maybe a group of people to be accountable to, someone you check in with daily. I have 3 group chats going. I have a homeschool mom chat. There's 5 of us in the chat. We've had it since my son was in kindergarten. But I've known these moms for 2 years prior to that when my daughter was in kindergarten, and we got a Facebook chat together. We post to it every day. How you doing? Here's a funny meme, whatever. Sometimes we need prayers. Like today I needed prayers. I have a goal mates chat with some of my Hannah Keeley moms. Oh, I have 2 writer chats. One with just romance writers, a small group that we meet, every month to month and a half or so. We'll meet for a whole day. And with my Saturday morning critique partners, I have a group chat. So 4 group chats that I have going every day that I can reach out to. And that they all started, with me getting to know one person. And then I put a couple of those groups together and said, you know what, we're stronger together. I was getting the same questions from different people. And I was like, you people know each other. You people know each other. You people should know each other. Let's get together. I tricked one of those groups into becoming a group, and because we're all introverts except one, but she doesn't like people. So it's just, you just build it. Oh, and I also have a group of college friends so 5 group chats. I have support, and I have a text thread of my Life Song moms. So 6. It sounds excessive, but they were all added at different times in different seasons for different purposes.
Yes, I love that. Listen to what Kerry says. She has 6 different chats going. Could seem like sensory overload, but they're not all for the same thing. Same thing. So for an example, I have a family group chat with my family. It started when we as a family started caregiving, taking turns, because Gran was just really dead set about not going to a long-term care facility. We respected that. There was enough of us in the valley that we could take turns taking care of her in our homes. So we started a group chat, and we've kept that up since my mom passed away almost 2 years ago, and just on. And that's been a lifeline for me as a mom and now a caregiver myself. So they're coming alongside again. And then I have various threads with different friends, as well. And then I have the big one that I'm a part of right now is my Women at the Well Collective. Shout out to my Christian life coach, Erin K, from Erin K Coaching. Love you. She's my coach, and she has a small group boxer chat program that I'm in right now. And so I get a Zoom call with her once a month, as well as a thread there. And then I also have a mutual thread with her business partner, who's also my other Christian life coach, Andrea. So I have a chat there, and then I have another one one-on-one for her. So so different things, different seasons. Okay. And the seasons will change. And so what you might need right now in 2023 Q2 is obviously going to look different, and Q1 2024, and that's fine. The idea here, though, is I want you still plugging yourself in, because you might get to a point where you don't need it now, but it's still there that you can go back to it. Okay. Building that support network. Again, support network changes. You might need more caregiving assistance right now because your spouse or aging parent or grandparent is in a lot dire health circumstances. So you might need home health and hospice on a more regular basis right now versus maybe next year. And that's fine. But still, it's important to just have a place to start with that. So like Kerry was saying, the groups, the chat she has where there's multiple people in there, it didn't happen overnight. It was more her being having intentional, meaningful conversations with one person at a time, and then realizing, what, we're all talking about the same thing. Oh, let's just make it simple and streamline it and put everyone in a group and
that blesses them as well, because they may know them, but maybe not well. So now we're creating a community, which community is what we're designed for, right? And we're all
Exactly.
so much better for it. We're more productive. We encourage each other. We lift each other up. It's what is that phrase about, when you raise the water, the boat floats, or what is it? Oh gosh,
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it
it's,
either.
you don't
Yeah,
want the ship to
I
sink.
can't think of it right now.
Raise the oh gosh, I know it too. I just said it yesterday. It's the whole theme for one of my writer groups. I'll think of it. My
I
short-term
can't think of
memory.
it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, but still, so make appointments with yourself. Do
Mhm.
one thing, even if it's just one thing for the day. Give
A
yourself
rising
grace.
tide lifts all boats.
There you go.
Yes.
That's it.
Sorry. I know it would
No,
come. Sorry to
No,
interrupt.
it's okay. It's okay. And just, build support, so like just start slow and give yourself grace. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
It's not a
It
sprint.
is a marathon. It
So
really is.
we're
Sprints
not
don't
trying to
last.
censor.
You will burn out and have no air
Exactly.
left.
We're not trying to say that, oh my gosh, you have to have everything sorted out overnight. No, I'm not expecting you to just
Start with one.
stop listening to this podcast and then instantly have a game plan in 30 minutes. That's
Mhm.
not the way it works. Choose one thing. I want your homework. Listen up for this podcast. I want you taking one of Kerry's tips or something maybe I've said and just running with that for this week. 1 week at a time, a little bit every day. Okay. And if you get stuck and you need someone to be accountable to, or just be kind of nudged in the right direction, DM us on Instagram. We would love to help you.
Yeah.
Okay. And if we're not the person after our conversation that is the right fit, we'll try to steward you into a place that is a good place for you to go. Because that's our job.
I tell
That's our
people in my
job.
workshops, if I don't have the answer to your question, I probably know someone who does.
Exactly. I say that all the time in the mastermind I'm in, because I help lead
Yep.
stuff over there too. I said, like, listen, if your girl doesn't have the answer, I will find somebody that
Yeah.
has the answer. Okay. And that's what we want. We want you to be good stewards of what you have, of what the Lord has given you in terms of resources, in terms of time and energy, in terms of just going on this journey with
Yeah.
tools and resources where you're supported. So with that being said, I kind of put a plug in for your Instagram already, but Kerry,
Thanks.
if people do want to learn more about your work, where can we find more Kerry Evelyn?
Oh gosh, I spend the most time in my Facebook group. It's called the Cranes Cove Crew, and Cranes Cove is the setting of my Christian inspirational small town romances. Faith is a strong theme in those books. There's Bible verses. They go to church. It's not preachy at all. And actually, this week the box set of the first 3 books and a bonus novella is on sale for 99 cents. So you can find that on my Instagram. And that's 3 books and a novella, and it's awesome. Book 6 is going to be out in June, and I'm almost finished writing it. It's so great. But yeah, in my Facebook group, request to join. There's almost 700 of us in there. It's a big group. But we have a lot of fun. And I've had several readers throughout the years that have become really good friends. Like, they didn't know me until they joined the group, and then they've won a prize, and we go back and forth in the chat, or they didn't win a prize and they have a question about my books. If you have an author that you love and you have questions, send them a message or an email. Most are not unreachable. Most are just regular people, just like you and me. And they're just awesome. And that was me when I was first starting out. I would send messages, and I wouldn't be like doing a long thing like, oh, here's my problems, how can you help me? It'd be like, I love how you did this. Can you tell me more about that? Or I love how this character ended up like this and did all these things and went through all this anxiety, whatever. What was your inspiration for it? And how did you figure out how did she overcome it? Specific questions like that. And open up a conversation. You never know. You may be one of those authors who doesn't have time and doesn't write back, but it might not be. It might be someone who you will become friends with eventually. And that's how I met Becky. I met Becky at a book signing. She came to my table, she bought a book, we chatted, I kept seeing her in different places, and eventually we became friends. And here she is now, she's helping me, and it's just amazing. It is amazing. And we're close. We meet for coffee. We do an accountability Zoom with 2 other authors once a month. But I see her another time a month at my writers group meeting. And and she hosts the writing sprints on Monday morning. That's her hosting them. So you just never know how or where a new friendship or support person or someone you can count on is going to come from. You're strangers until you're not, right? So long story short, join my Facebook group. But also I have a Facebook page. It's Kerry Evelyn Author. I'm on Instagram at Kerry Evelyn Books. My original Instagram account was Kerry Evelyn Author, and it got stolen and hacked. So I have a lot of content there. I have like probably almost 5 years worth of content there that you can scroll through. Nobody's touched it or done anything with it. I just can't access it. So there's a lot there. You can find soundtracks to my books on Spotify. All of my books are on Amazon. Most of them are in Kindle Unlimited. So if you have the $9.99 a month lending library program with Amazon, you can read almost all of them. And there's only 2 that aren't free that aren't in Kindle Unlimited. It's because one is free, and that is Love on the Ice. And that's tinyurl.com/freehockeyromance. Melissa has that link. And then A Night at the Inn is a fun little ghost story that is based on the cat at the Lizzie Borden house in Fall River, Massachusetts. You may not know who she is, but that was the crime of the century back in the 1800s. And my family is from Fall River, and my mom's aunt married into that family. And so I have always had my own theory about what happened that night or that day with Lizzie Borden and all that stuff. Anyway, I have that on audio because I thought I was going to do audiobooks, and because I have it on audio, it's wide and all this stuff, whatever. The story is 99 cents. So anyway, that's the only one not in Kindle Unlimited other than the other one that's free. Long story. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's just, I'm everywhere. I have a Pinterest page. I have TikTok. But if you want to spend the most time with me, it's my Facebook group, Cranes Cove Crew. So I think I got all of them right. You've got all my links. So.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. Yeah. Wherever you're watching this, on Spotify, on my YouTube channel, on Apple, all the links and everything, all the goodies will be in the description box below. So
and my website has stuff you can use on it. There's a For Writers page, and there is a goal setting handout for my goal setting workshop. So you can look at that and skim it over. If you want the slides, email me, Kerry@kerryevelyn.com. I'll be happy to send you the slides and the other printables that are not on the website.
Nice.
Just put in the chat, put in the subject line caregiver chat, so that I can, because I'll wait probably a day or two, and then I'll email everybody. I'll blind copy everybody at the same time, because I've got a really busy day ahead of me. My stepdad is in the hospital, and so I don't think I'll get to my email today. So don't expect it right away, but put caregiver chat in the subject line so that I can search for it, and then I'll get everybody at once.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in that amazing resource, make sure you email Kerry, and I will have Kerry's all of her links, her email, her website, social, everything will be in the description.
And if you're watching it on the replay and it's like 5 months later and you're like, oh man, I missed it. No, just put caregiver chat in the subject line, because I have a list on my extra monitor of different things that I look for every month to see that in case it goes to spam or it gets lost, caregiver chat is going to go on that list. So I will search for it once a month or more often and see if it's
something that Kerry. So there you go. So
yeah, I get stragglers for workshops and all kinds of things, and I don't want to miss anybody. And you can also sign up for my newsletter at kerryevelyn.com/links if you'd like to be on my newsletter. I send 4 a month. I do a Throwback Thursday. Every Throwback Thursday, I give away a free book. And then on Travel With Me Tuesday, which is usually the 3rd or 4th Tuesday of the month, I talk about the places in that Throwback Thursday book. And then I have a mid-month update newsletter, and then I have an end of the month freebie and 99 cents sale newsletter. So sign up for my newsletter if you love to read or love to travel or know someone who does, and because you can always gift that free book to somebody else. It's an ebook, but you can buy for others at Amazon, whatever. Or I don't even know if it's free. I don't know I wonder if you can give it away. I think you can. If you can't, send me a message and I'll ask someone who knows the answer.
So anyway, wow. So yeah, guys, make sure you check out the description box below. It's amazing.
Yes.
So
yes.
Kerry, as we wind down our time, this has been an amazing conversation.
It has. I'm so happy.
It has. I've been so excited. And I just want to say too, like going back to that, like, Kerry and I weren't friends initially. Our liaison, as it were, was Becky,
Yeah.
and just our and us both being women of faith, and
Hmm.
her just knowing in the season I was in that I was just really struggling with everything we had going on personally with my life, obviously, right? That I was just needing a new another tool to help me in my spiritual life. And Becky mentioned her prop journal, and it just
It's just a little
that was the
kickstart, 5 minutes
catalyst.
a day,
Yeah,
it's
and that was the catalyst for
Mhm.
our us DMing, and I tagged her on oodles of
Yes,
Instagram
they're all
stories.
on my old Instagram account. So
Yeah,
I'm so glad they didn't destroy my account because I can go back and I can click on the Faith Journal highlight and they're all
yeah,
there
yeah.
until, up until the account got stolen, then I couldn't add to it anymore.
Right, right. But but again, and here we are, what, a year later, year and a half later,
Yes,
and we're
more than a
having
year. Yeah.
yeah, and we're still talking and
Mhm.
being active in each other's lives about, hey, what's going on with biz? How are you doing in your
Yeah.
spiritual journey? And we're still connected with Becky.
Mhm.
Whenever I talk to Becky, Becky's like, Carrie, did you know what Carrie did this, and vice versa? Hey, did you hear about this? So it's so cool how the three of
Yeah.
us are still continuing to be friends
Yes.
and support each other, both in our
Mhm.
faith walk as well as our entrepreneurial journey. So guys, you never know where the Lord's going to take you in
Nope.
an intentional relationship. So anyway, as our time ends and we need to wrap this up, Carrie, the last question I want to have you talk about, and I've been having so much fun with this question, is what is something that we have talked about in our conversation that's personally inspired you in your journey? And you can spin this two ways. It's been fun. You could either just maybe share about something that literally just resonates with you in this conversation we've had,
Mhm.
or you could maybe share about something that just really has just stuck with you in terms of an experience, or maybe a quote or a thought, or maybe something that someone did um as you're going through your journey, that's just stuck with you. So either way, you can spin it either way.
Okay, so the number one thing that I tell myself is you've got to let go of perfection. I was a perfectionist until I had kids, and you know how kids change everything up, right? You can't do everything. You cannot control them. You can train them and teach them, but they're still loose cannons, right? Like you could say you are going to nap from 9 to 11 so I can get work done or I can watch the show or whatever. But it's not always going to happen. So you use your servants, you use your DVR, you you use you get toys, you have like special toys you only take out at a special time. So for when I was nursing my son, I had a special basket for my daughter to play with only during nursing time so that she was busy. And she would be on the couch next to me with the special stuff that, oh, it's time to feed the baby, go get your basket. And she could only have it during that time. Right. So you've put systems in place. And the first time we stayed out I think we were at my in-laws and it was time to nurse the baby. And she's like, did you bring my basket? I was like, oh no, go see grandma, see if grandma's got something to do. And so grandma was happy to keep her busy, but I was like, oh man, bring your systems with you if you can, but if you can't, just do your best, let go of perfect. Jesus is perfect. We don't want to be perfect. And trying to be perfect will only cause paralysis. Hannah Keeley calls it perfection paralysis. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
true. And you know what? Your kids are watching you. And my daughter, she will not, when she was younger, she would not even attempt something unless she could do it perfectly because I was unconsciously modeling that for her. Well, I'm not going to do that because I can't. Or let me do that later when I have the time to do it. And she'd be like, she would repeat this stuff back to me. And I was like, oh, this is not a healthy mindset for you. Like, we're going to try it. And if we make a mess, we'll just clean it up. And if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. And, she's amazing. She's a sophomore in high school now, doing things I never imagined she could do. She's got, you should follow her on Instagram. She's fencing_skater. And she's learning how to ice skate. Her grandparents are buying her private lessons in South Florida when she goes to visit. And she falls a lot and she makes blooper videos, but she's jumping and she has learned how to fall. She has learned that the more time she practices, the better she gets. Practice equals progress, not perfect.
I love
And
that.
yeah, so follow her, fencing_skater. You will love her blooper videos. She does a lot of reels. Um, she's amazing, so amazing. And what, be conscious what you're modeling because you may not even know you're modeling something, but people are watching you. in
Absolutely.
real life and online. So be careful.
That's true. Yeah, be careful. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this amazing, encouraging episode of the Caregiver Coffee Chat podcast. I shout out to my special guest and friend and colleague, Kerry Evelyn. Thank you for being
Thank
on
you
the
so much for
podcast
having
today.
me.
And guys, if you're struggling in your motherhood and caregiving journey, doors are going to be opening at the end of the month for my group coaching program, one-on-one program, excuse me, Finding Your Balance. And the link for that for the wait list will be included below. But guys, as always, remember, you're not alone. You're doing the best you can. No one knows your family and your struggles and your journey and your pain points better than you do. And you're allowed to give yourself grace on those hard mom and caregiver days. So thank you so much for watching and listening. Check out the links in the description box below of all the goodies that Kerry shared with us. And I will see you next week on another episode of the Caregiver Coffee Chat Pod. Take care, guys.